talking with Dr. Mike Castellanos of Iowa State University. Doctor, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Yeah, happy to be here, Dustin.
All right, and we're talking today on behalf of the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative. First of all, for maybe some of those guests who aren't, or who are watching, I should say, viewers that maybe aren't familiar with what the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative is, why don't you give us a little background on what it is?
Yeah, the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative is a public-private partnership among Iowa's farmers and Iowa State University to improve information about nitrogen for decision-making on the farm. Really what the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative does is use the latest advances in precision agriculture variable rate nitrogen application technology to allow farmers to conduct scientifically robust experiments without any hassle, without slowing them down on their fields every year. This year, we conducted 470 of these in partnership with more than 70 farmers across the state of Iowa. The data we collect from these experiments, Dustin, they allow us to scale research from maybe a dozen university research farms every year to those hundreds of fields, and that allows us to use the latest advances in data sciences like machine learning, artificial intelligence, and biophysical process modeling to make better decisions about nitrogen management for the benefit of productivity, profitability, and environmental performance.
Now, I understand you're looking for some more partners for this fall and coming up for the 25 growing season. Tell us about what you're looking for and what these farmers need to know about becoming partners of this program.
Yeah, Dustin. So we're always looking for new farmers to participate in the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative, learn more about nitrogen management on their farm, and help us learn more about nitrogen management across the state. So we can have the data here to improve decision-making, have the data to show the public what a challenge nitrogen management is. To get involved, all you have to do is have the capability to variable rate nitrogen on your farm. If you have that capability, we'll send you a prescription after you send us field boundaries, and all we need back is the as-applied nitrogen data, the yield data at the end of the year, and then we provide a report on what the outcomes were. A question we often get, Dustin, is, well, what else do I need to do other than just variable rate that nitrogen according to the prescription that goes in my applicator? And the answer is nothing. We don't ask anybody to do anything else. In fact, getting the variability from operation to operation across the state, it's a huge strength for our approaches to better understand nitrogen.
So how do you go about gathering that data then throughout the partnership, without, like you said, the farmers not having to really do anything else from beyond that first point?
Yeah, well, the real critical things the farmer has to do is they've got to send us the field boundaries. They've got to take the prescription that we write for the nitrogen. It's about 2.5 acres total we're asking them to adjust nitrogen rates on. Typically, we have 5 nitrogen rates by 5 replicate individual blocks in the field. The total of that is about 2.5 acres. We like to go from 0 to 250 pounds or so of nitrogen per acre, sometimes more. Sometimes we start a little higher than 0. Those zeros are real important, though, for us to understand how much nitrogen we're getting from the soil organic matter every year, which is really a critical input to our model. So farmer puts that prescription into their applicator. They send us the as-applied data back, send us the yield data back. We do have to get in touch with the farmers to get some management data, right? So we need data like the hybrid they're planting, the planting date, and a few other things like soil management, crop residue management. We have a list of questions that we ask them. If they can't answer them all, that's okay. We just try and get as much information as possible, because the more information we have about a trial, the more accurate our models will be.
Now, one thing that I find interesting, you mentioned something about, showing how much work it takes to help monitor or put in the right rate of nitrogen. I mean, obviously, this is something that the general public has been watching closely. We, heard about nitrogen loss into waterways. We've heard about it, with livestock operations, grain operations, the whole 9 yards. Why is it important for the people outside of agriculture to see this kind of work and see what's being done to help the farmers be more precise with this?
Dustin, that's a great question. So I think most people don't appreciate what a challenge optimum nitrogen management is. So the optimum nitrogen rate in Iowa in our first year of the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative study, crop year 2023, we had 270 trials across the state. The optimum nitrogen rate varied from roughly 50 pounds per acre to over 300 pounds per acre. And really what the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative is not about prescribing a particular rate that's the right rate. That's important to get those right rates, but we recognize that those right rates are enormously variable across environments and operations. So the main thing that the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative is trying to help not just farmers with, but the broader public, as you pointed out, is understand what practices we can put on to improve our efficiency. So reduce the amount of nitrogen that we have to put in the system while maintaining or increasing the yield that we're getting from the farm. So that's really what the Iowa Nitrogen Initiative is about identifying those management practices that improve our efficiency. And we know if we improve our efficiency, we'll improve environmental performance and profitability as a result.
So then definitely you're going to need the help also. And we obviously have the farmers and the land, but you're also going to need the help of some of those crop advisors that are helping them put those prescriptions together, correct?
Great point, Dustin. Yeah, so farmers are super important partners of ours, but so is agribusiness across the state, retailers, co-ops. They all help get trials in. Those 470 trials we got across the state this year, it involved all those groups working together.
Now, we know that this year's data is obviously going to be, more important coming into 2025, but from what since it's starting in 2023, what kind of things have you learned about the situation? What are you finding out from some of these trials?
Yeah, so, well, one thing we've learned, I think, immediately is that right at present, the university recommends 4 nitrogen rates for the whole state of Iowa. It has the recommendations from the university currently have one management factor, and that's whether your corn follows corn or your corn follows soybeans, and one environment factor, whether you're in Southeast Iowa or you're in the rest of the state. Just in crop year 2023, we have already begun to provide information that's specific to each what we call the major land resource areas in the state. There are about 9 of those across the state. I may have the exact number wrong there, but the major ones. And what we found is somewhat predictably, but new information, is that the optimum nitrogen rate decreases as you go from the Mississippi River in the east of the state to the Missouri River on the west of the state. That's just one step forward. We've got a lot more work to do, and we're going to continue to do that. Some of the management practices we know that can benefit that efficiency that we talked about as well. That's reducing the amount of nitrogen we put in the system while maintaining or increasing yield. Residue management is absolutely critical to that. Soil management, drainage management. Those are some of the kind of low-hanging management practices in terms of improving that performance.
All right. So what kind of things are farmers able to take away from these trials once they've participated?
Great question, Dustin. So first thing, of course, is the farmer learns what the right rate was for that operation, that field in that year. So they get a report. It's a 2-page report. They see what the optimum rate was for that field in that year. Then what most farmers really like from the feedback we've gotten is that they get to benchmark that operation against all the other trials we did across the state. So they can see things like what their optimum rate was compared to the other 470 trials that we conducted this year. They can see how their efficiency, the pounds of nitrogen per bushel of corn they produce, how that shook out compared to all the other trials in the state. So they really get to benchmark their operations so that they can see their performance. And I don't want to say it's not just the performance of that individual farmer or agronomist. It's a field-to-field performance too, because most of our partners have more than one trial in. So not only does it allow them to benchmark against the statewide numbers, but it allows them to benchmark their fields against one another as well.
All right. So, Doctor, if you could remind our farmers again what they need to do to qualify, and then where do they find more information about signing up to become a partner in the initiative?
As long as you have the ability to variable rate nitrogen, we would love to have your collaboration on these trials. If you just search Iowa Nitrogen Initiative on the internet, you'll find contact information for me, as well as the project director, Melissa Miller. And you can reach out to any one of us, and we'd be happy to get you involved.
All right, Dr. Castellanos, that's the last question I had. Is there anything else that our Iowa farmers need to know before we wrap up today?
Just how much we appreciate their collaboration, Dustin. This project wouldn't be anywhere if it wasn't for the participation of Iowa farmers, co-ops, retailers across the state. So we appreciate everybody's collaboration on this really tough problem that we need to solve for the state.
All right. Well, Dr. Castellanos, we thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thank you, Dustin.